Hello Gears and Gaming fans, KDB here for Gears Intel, back for the first time in a little while, here for a spring video, spring 2026, hope everyone is doing well. Apologies, it's been a little while since we've done a bit of content. We had some plans, but there's been some stuff just going on in life which takes up a lot of time, but we will get to it. Currently I am reading Gears of War novel, The Slab, and the guys are reading it. I think David has finished reading it already, and we're going to be covering that just as soon as we can. But in the meantime, I wanted to check in because something has been on my mind, and I just kind of wanted to ramble about it and get your thoughts and let me know what you think, and tell me if you think I'm crazy or if you think, yes, I'm right and I speak the truth. So it is early April, and this past weekend I saw the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Now, this is a movie that has been called the end of cinema. Critics have given it 0 out of 5 stars, 1 out of 5. And yeah, it's all been a bit ridiculous. But I took my son, and I tell you what, my son doesn't care about what critics have to say, and he bloody loved it. I thought it was fine. It was perfectly fine. I thought the first movie was perfectly fine, kind of dumb, loved the references, all that kind of stuff. So we went and saw the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I actually laughed out loud like 2 or 3 times. So, you know, what more could you hope for, really? But anyway, while I was watching it, it got me thinking about Gears of War. And I know, how do you get from Super Mario Galaxy to Gears of War? Well, I'll tell you how. Because I was watching the Super Mario Galaxy movie and I was thinking, this is the second Mario movie I've watched in 3 years. This is the second Super Mario movie that has been announced, produced and released since the Gears of War live action movie was announced. It's got me thinking even more. We continue to be served this kind of glut of video game, movies and TV show adaptations in recent years. Some people do say we're in a kind of silver age of specifically TV show adaptations, and I'm inclined to agree with that. We've got movies and TV shows all of varying degrees of quality, but there is no denying that the output has been ramped up as Sony, Microsoft and Nintendo, obviously, all try to diversify and expand their revenue streams for these video game properties, given the course of the video games industry right now, which continues to be in a strange and evolving place where, you know, budgets are big, indies are thriving, but margins are tighter than ever, layoffs and studio shutdowns are all too regular, and free-to-play black hole and live service games reign supreme. So, as you'll no doubt be aware if you're watching this video, Gears of War has been toying with the idea of a movie adaptation pretty much since the early years of the franchise, with various rumours and even official announcements over the years. Yet, as we approach 20 years of Gears of War, no screen adaptation has successfully materialised. And if you cast your mind back to November 2022, Microsoft and Netflix announced a new partnership with a kind of back to the drawing board approach, and they officially confirmed that a Gears of War live action movie and an adult animated series would be coming to the Netflix subscription service. And this marked a kind of what's really been a re-emergence of Gears of War, because since then we've had a few things. It's just kind of back in the, you know, the gaming sphere. We had a new card game, which I know a lot of people may not care about, but we also had Gears of War Reloaded, which, whatever you think of it, is a big deal. You know, this new remaster of the remaster, Gears of War finally making its way to PS5, and of course the reveal of the upcoming prequel game, Gears of War E-Day. The news of the movie and the animated series, it did spark a lot of discussion, and we've covered loads of it here on the channel already. Like, some of our first episodes were focused on those announcements, and we were giving our hopes and dreams for the productions. And I have also previously on this channel, and I thought this was more recently than it was, I thought, a few months ago I suggested that the movie was potentially in development hell. No, turns out that was a year ago. Well, just shy of a year, 11 months ago, I put out a video that said, I think the movie is in development hell. And something happened. We got some official news where they officially confirmed that the movie was still being worked on and that the director had signed on. Leitch, right? The directors. Is it David Leitch? Yeah, so that was quite funny. And I wonder if this video is going to maybe prompt something like that again. But anyway, yeah, so I was thinking, was it in development hell? And then we got that little bit of news after, and it was like, great, the movie is still being worked on. And it did indeed give me hope. However, here we are in April 2026, and I've just experienced the second Super Mario movie to release since the Gears of War movie and series were announced. And to be honest, it really has me thinking that it's now incredibly unlikely that this film will ever see the light of day. And I mean the film specifically. I mean, this is kind of going hand in hand. I'd talk more about the animated series in a minute, but I think the film specifically, yeah, I mean, what are we doing here? This is beyond development hell now. I mean, you could say the movie's been in development hell for 20 years, but this announcement alone, this movie officially announced in 2022, this is definitely in development hell. What's going on over there? And a little context, which kind of paints a picture. I talked about this glut of releases we've had. Since the Gears of War movie and series was announced, we have had announced and released 2 Super Mario Brothers movies, 2 seasons of The Last of Us on HBO, a Minecraft movie with a sequel that is in production and coming out, confirmed to be coming out next year. We've had a new Silent Hill movie. We've had 2 Five Nights at Freddy's movies. We've had Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the live action movie. We've had 3 seasons of Sonic Prime, the animated show, plus a live action series of Knuckles. We've had a second series of the Halo TV show. We've had 2 seasons of the Fallout TV show. We've had a season of Dragon Age. We've had a season of Arcane. We've had Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft. We've had Devil May Cry. We've had Borderlands. We've had a 3rd and 4th series of the Witcher TV show. We've had a Mortal Kombat sequel releasing this year and a Street Fighter movie also releasing this year. Resident Evil had Death Island, an animated movie, and Zach Kreger has developed and shot a live-action Resident Evil movie within the last year alone, which is due for release this year. They are all the video game adaptations that we have had since Gears of War was announced. And that's probably not even a full list. Like, I did a bit of quick research, and that's what I could find. And there's probably some that I've missed. That's probably not even the full list. And yes, of course, some of them were already established and kind of easier to pump out follow-ups, but many of them were not. And I think particularly with something like The Last of Us and Fallout and Mario being these big heavy hitters, these are 3 representations of the big platforms as well, with The Last of Us representing Sony and PlayStation, Fallout representing Microsoft and Xbox, and Mario coming from Nintendo. And Nintendo have announced the Zelda film as well. These 3 in particular have all established themselves and have become massive successes since the Gears of War projects were announced. All of these adaptations have been delivered in a time where, you know, the movie industry as well has been struggling, and, you know, it's been hit by strikes and declining cinema going and all this kind of stuff. So what's the hold up with Gears of War, and what should Netflix do? Well, frankly, I think it's quite clear what they should do. They need to change course. Right now, they need to look at what's successful and what's working and what's going to work for Gears of War. And we've touched on some of this in the past, but I think it's now obvious more than ever. Do your animated series, sure, but when it comes to this live action movie, I don't see how this can work. I think they need to change course, and this needs to become a live action TV series. I kind of wish Netflix weren't doing it, because they're not really in the same position as HBO and as Amazon. Fallout is one of the 3 on that list that's owned by Microsoft. And, you know, so it's not a Microsoft problem here. I don't think it's a Microsoft problem. They've also put out Fallout, but they've also put out the Minecraft movie. These are big successes. And Gears of War, okay, it's not as popular as Minecraft, but is it as popular as Fallout? I think probably. Or at least it was at one point. But yeah, anyway, the more I think about it, the more it's making me feel that Gears of War as a live action movie adaptation is probably unadaptable. At least in a way that I think would make it anything like what most people are expecting, and certainly what the fans would want. The scope of the world, the level of practical and digital effects, both at a character level, just thinking of cog armor and the locust and the enemies, to an environment level and the world and the locations, to the weapons. We've talked about it before. To pull this off is going to take a lot of money. And while Netflix are a huge platform, as I've said, they don't seem to be in the same position as Amazon and HBO, who are both willing to spend the type of money that they do on these shows. You think of shows like Game of Thrones and Fallout and The Last of Us, even Rings of Power, that Lord of the Rings shows. These are the biggest budget TV shows on the planet by a long way. And the platforms take a risk on these shows because they can extend their return out in a bigger way than a movie can. A series is drawn out over time and in theory can draw in more subscribers. The Fallout TV show, the first season was so successful, they dumped all that in one go. The second one, they extended it out. You needed to subscribe for probably a couple of months to get it all. So perhaps a Gears of War movie is not the route that makes economical sense or even creative sense. So this is what I'm saying. I think they need to change course. And I am actually on record as saying this, I think, way back in the early days, where I thought this live action adaptation should have been a series. I didn't think a movie was the best way to go. And the fact that that movie has still not arrived, yet we've had these massive TV shows and other movies, it just kind of confirms that for me more than ever. I think a TV show can cover a journey of a character, can cover a story in a similar way to the games, insert flashbacks and stuff. The structure, it makes sense. And trying to cram a story and the presentation that represents the true scope of this world is something that I don't think can be squeezed into 90 minutes or even 2 hours. Certainly without some serious compromises on quality or themes and style and tone that would make it Gears of War. You look at something like the Fallout TV show, and I think the scope of that is closer to something like Gears of War, despite the stories being quite different. I just think in terms of world building and universe building, yeah, that's something I could put more side by side. And I don't think you can do it in a movie. I think what they've done in that Fallout TV show, you couldn't have done in a movie, and I'm glad they didn't. I think the show's great, by the way. I think both seasons were really good. And I think that's like a unanimous feeling as well, fairly unanimous. The general consensus is that the show's really good. The Last of Us Season 2 I thought was not as good as the first season, but the show is generally liked. It's certainly done well for HBO. And the Mario movies, whatever you think of them in terms of their quality, they've both done incredibly well. And that's different. It's animation. It doesn't have the problems of a live action movie. Yeah, as far as this movie goes, we have a writer and a director on board, but it's mostly been radio silence since that news was confirmed. And the deals are made, but I'm just hoping they get their heads together and reconsider. Because at this point, I think either don't bother, just don't make it, or change your route. These TV shows are having huge success, these live action TV shows. And there's more on the way, right? We have God of War. And I think Horizon has a TV show coming. I just don't see them being able to pull that off. And I've not come here today to make a negative video and say and really be negative about the movie. I've been excited, but look how long it's been. Like, I think if they were excited, if they were truly excited and locked in, the movie would be here by now. But it's not. So something's not clicking. And I'm sure budget is a big part of it. Meeting a script that has the scope of Gears of War is going to be extremely difficult. So why not make it a TV show? Put all your cards on the table, really invest, give us 8 to 10 episodes. You can just do more in a TV show. You can take your time and still have those big moments and spread them out. Something which I don't think is going to work in a movie for Gears of War. And I'm excited for the animated TV show because it doesn't have these problems. Animation might take a long time to produce, for the most part. You can do whatever you want. You just got to draw it. You haven't got to build the sets. You haven't got to hire stuntmen. You haven't got to build the costumes. You just draw it. And whether that's digitally or in a traditional style, most of it's done digitally these days anyway. And that's why I can see the animated TV series being a success. But the fact it's not here yet makes me wonder where their priorities lie. Since these projects were announced, A lot has changed in the video game adaptation world. It's not the first time we've talked about it, and we're going to continue to talk about it more. But Netflix, if you're listening, yeah, think about what you're doing. These TV shows have been absolutely fantastic. These movies have been fantastic, but what's the difference about this movie? The Mario movie in particular. It's animated. It's easy to produce that huge Mario world with all the different characters, all the different locations, the galaxy hopping Mario movie. You can do it in animation. It's not a problem. Do it to your heart's content. Can you do that in Gears of War in a movie? In a live action movie? No, I don't think you can. As I said, not without compromise anyway. And what are those compromises going to be? So, yeah, that's about it really. Obviously, I could be wrong. Let me know what you think. Do you have any thoughts about the movie? As I've said, 2022 it was announced. It's still not here. Do you think it has a chance in hell of ever appearing? Let me know. Let me know your casting thoughts. Let me know your story thoughts. We've given out our casting and story ideas a few times now. And it'll be interesting to see where they go. I'm definitely happy to be proved wrong. If Netflix are like, nope, we can do it. Here's our movie. Boom. I'll be there day one. I can't wait to watch it. But yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those production meetings with them looking at these big shows. Particularly, I think Fallout in particular, as I said, is an example that they can refer to. The Last of Us, yes, sort of, but I think it's that Fallout show. And obviously, that's a Microsoft IP. They're going to be having these conversations, I would hope, anyway. So I want them to be excited about it. I want them to have their hearts in the right place. But a TV show structure, I think, is the way to go. And yeah, that could still happen. We shall see. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for there. Let me know what you think. Obviously, we've had news confirmed that E-Day is coming later this year. It's also going to feature at the Xbox Showcase in June. We will give our big reactions to that and talk more about E-Day before then. You know, that's only a couple of months away, right? What are we? April, May, June? It's going to be here before we know it. But we've got the slab to cover and we've got more E-Day thoughts to come. I'm very excited. It's a good time to be a Gears of War fan. Just little old me thinking about this movie. Everyone else seems to not care. I think it's time. Change the course, Netflix. Make it a TV show. And yeah, and I will be there as a subscriber day one. If you're not following the channel already, please do give us a like and a subscribe. All that stuff you're supposed to do on the internet. Come and check out our previous episodes. We recently did a huge deep dive on Ram's Shadow, the DLC for Gears of War 3. Put a lot of effort into that podcast and the video as well. Go and watch the video. It absolutely bombed on YouTube, which is a shame, but there we go. That's what happens. And as I've mentioned, the slab will be coming, more Gears of War content. I'm very excited to connect with David Annex again very soon. In the meantime, you can find me over on A Winner As You, their other podcast. I often guest for the video game draft. So if you're not following A Winner As You, go and find it on your podcast feed of choice. If you like Resident Evil, you can find me over at First Aid Spray. Resident Evil Requiem came out in February. We did a huge mammoth review of that, so go and check it out as well. And yes, obviously, other stuff I do, come and find me on Blue Sky at KDB-init. That's where I share all my links to my podcasts, everything I do. You can also find us on Twitter at @Gears_Intel, or X, if that's your sort of thing. Come and talk Gears of War with me. Let me know what you think. Are you excited about E-Day? Are you excited about the movie? And yeah, we'll talk more Gears of War here on the channel very, very soon. Until then, remember the Fallen.